So, we're playing Worlds Without Number tonight. That's right, Kevin Crawford, successor to the seminal Stars Without Number, is here. Kinda. My friend Madeline kickstarted it, and we're running version 0.17 right now. If you're looking for a system review, this ain't it. It's essentially Stars Without Number with Vancian casting bolted on, and Crawdaddy's usual emphasis and euphemisms and witty sidebars thrown in. Good shit if you've got the palate for it, and nothing groundbreaking if you're not. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Lee. That's right, baby. It's all about Lee. In case you're here from an alternate dimension.
Hopefully one of the sexy ones.
And got here without knowing what Diesel Shot is. We're a tabletop RPG streaming channel over on twitch.tv. We play lots of games like Alien RPG, Dungeons & Dragons, and our own Change Star system, amongst more. This game isn't streamed, however, a rare treat for me these days. I'm running a game without recording it weekly on Sundays. I intend to chronicle how I set these sessions up and how they wound up shaking down. First, a little background. The world of Run with Wind is a strange and alien one, fantastically yet familiar, of brackish gorges and clifftop bastions. And I do mean brackish, but not in the sense of a salty sea. Brack in this world is a porous, wood-like myconid that expands extensively across the gorges. It's dense, it chokes out life that doesn't find a way to live in symbiosis with it, and it essentially is this world's substitute for trees when you gaze out upon a terrain. Trees still exist, floating special groves attached to a central gas bag, but their wood is rare and mostly used in flying ships. Windrunners. You may notice an overlap with the title here. To run with wind. And fancy furnishings. People mostly get by with brack for their sandals, beds, chairs, doors, etc. We change a basic presumption of the world, that wood is common and used for everything, and suddenly it feels, if I pull it off, as if though we're in another land. Familiar, yet fantastical. Differently the same could be the title of an essay on its own, but I'm not going to stop to smell the roses in every world-building detail. This is about the campaign, and for however much world-building goes into it, all arches bow to the strife imposed above, that ceiling which they must hold up, for it is their purpose. One purpose of all this prep, the game. So we're here to run a first session, but I'll be numbering this after the amount of pleasure an enlightened gentleman with pickup lines from r/deductions delivers to their waifu. 0. It's before the campaign, before the main hook of the full adventure comes, before anyone comes, really, but one party is certainly racing towards a miniature climax that will appear ultimately insignificant in comparison with the journey it sets them on. The members of the party need to be drawn in from a flaccid new campaign who this state to full tragedy, investment into a heroic journey. We'll talk more about the characters and who they are once I've seen them in action, but it's worth knowing the only officially sanctioned mages in this world are known as thaumaturges. They're considered miracle workers, per the dictionary and society, and they're considered directly under the dominion of their god. They cannot live a normal life. Instead, they exist as prized members of the clergy, though not as priestesses. Every type of magic is associated with a certain god in the society's pantheon. Their miracles give the temples immense status in society. You want magical healing? Hope you haven't offended the high priestesses of Om, as it's only available to worthy donors, not just any petitioner with the cash. The party's got 2 thaumaturges. One necromancer of Mara, the Bone White Moon, and the other a healer devoted to the goddess of life and fertility, Om. A nice duality. Neither are typical cases. One is a Lamia, half Naga in a society that is overwhelmingly human, and the other a certain type of human called a Blighted. Both are technically under the auspices of the party's keeper and adherent to the only deity, nominally without any thaumaturges, Piara, the Violet Moon. He has to play potion dealer and middle manager to these two on their adventures. Already, we see the dynamic between the players forming. The casters have a support who is hierarchically above them, but also on the hook for their well-being. Thaumaturges are extremely valuable to a society, and the Piaran clergy keeps its prestige in part through being their attentive tenders. With that in mind, we go over what the party knew ahead of time. I circulated the document over a month ago that laid out the general scenario, the world, what they'd be doing in the session, etc. They all know each other, and most are windmates who suck sponges together at their preferred hearthwhack, joining an emergency rescue team seeking a downed windrunner, and entering a unique, brack-free biome called the White Mist Flats. Here we achieve 3 things. We connect the party to each other in the world through the concept of windmates and the fact that sucking salted and fried psychoactive sponges is more common than cheap drink in this world. Their first mission will be a wilderness adventure in adverse conditions, and they're entering into an environment that's atypical for their world. The final point is important. Why not start them off with their typical Bracken fare? Because I want them to feel the Brack when they have to traverse it throughout the story. The less similar the stimuli they have to reference, the harder a comparison is. They know in practice what walking around outside is like, and in theory what it'd be like in this or any other system. But we want to give them a specific in-game, in-world example that's fundamentally different to both give them exposure to the world and have a direct in-campaign comparison point for when they're forced to traverse the Brack without others on their way back to the Citadel. Now, we move to what I didn't tell them, but they may have assumed. The environment will be low visibility and dangerous. There's more to this than just finding the wreck, and there will be combat. This one's pretty much assured for my sessions, though I've had the odd RP-only game. They tend to be mid-campaign rather than openers. It's in this environment I intend to lead them on a merry chase. They will be told that the ship went down over what appeared to be the north of the valley and gradually find fallen, broken bits indicating it trailed southerly. Down south, they'll find the wreck without any living people, but signs of a scuffle and some blood. This will lead them back to the Dungeon of the Night, a cave being squatted in by Anax. They're a type of blighted, in the base game played as an utterly adherent to a concept known as the hate, which just drives them to kill. While I'm keeping the name, mine are instead sadists who derive pleasure from pain on an immediate, intense biological level. Although abstaining from murdering people is quite possible for them, their thick red veins crisscrossing their alabaster white skin marks them as clear as a sadistic murderer for hire sign taped to their backwood. This makes their options for coexisting in polite society few and far between. Regardless of how they got here, a small group of low-level Anax I refer to as Satanistas dwell here. No, Sade, not Sand. Not Sanders either. You're missing the mark, E. Their leader is a mage, an illegal thaumaturge, known as an apostate, with magical powers unknown to the party from no god of good ken. This will be the beginning of a long breadcrumb trail of doubts and intrigue surrounding several underpinnings of their society. The cave doesn't just act as an introduction to people, though. It's an introduction to places as well. The group's pain-powered leader rests upon a throne sat beneath a statue with deliberately defaced eyes, surrounded in winding ancient carvings. Some of the caves contain old clay vessels, clearly not made by the Anax. This all points to the ancient civilizations that layer the world like cheesecake. Much of the charm in this genre of sword and sorcery and saucy metal bikinis is in what has come before. It's like Fallout in that way, or rather, Fallout was made akin to it to capture some of the same content. The party will explore the terrain, miss at least one major location I've planned for them. There's a bridge with a mysterious magical item on it that repels the mist around it, the crash site, and the cave. If they miss anything but the cave, I should be good. If not, I'll improvise to drag them back towards it. You need to be careful with that sort of thing. Ask me about Pump Town sometime I'm sauced up and one of my Sunday crew is there, because you risk laying the grease on too thick and scaring off the party. I'll need to lean hard into impressing upon the players the necessity of this task and that they can't just cycle back for help, but how I'll do that I'm probably going to make up on the spot. There'll be a wee bit of thinking about, though. After all is said and done, the party will narrowly survive and extract the lone survivor of the crash, presently being tortured by in the Anax, the cave-bound Bastion. Probably run a shorter long on time because something about this prep work is starting to feel lopsided. I did it all over a month ago in a manic spurt of creativity, and it shows. I've got a full bestiary to pull on pretty easily, though, so I'll stall for a time with the wilderness encounters as needed, or improvise their return to the city. It's a Bastion map I've got as the regular Hearthwhack, but hey, a scribbled up front wall scene never hurt anybody. I'm going to do a follow-up for every session, telling you how I planned it and what panned out. Please feel free to let me know what you liked, didn't like, and what you'd like to see more of in the comments. Hit me up anytime to talk shop on Discord or Twitter, links below. If you like the video, subscribe and like for more of it. And if you want the video early, Diesel Shot Final Cut videos go up a week early for Patreon subscribers.